Nearly 10 years ago, this region didn't have an identity like it does today. Not only are we building an identity, but we're building a movement across this region of how we as residents, as workers, as students, how we thrive.
A regional focus truly encompasses the scale at which we live our lives. We as people don't live between margins and boundaries. We flow between places. We live, consume, and travel across state lines. It makes sense then that someone takes a holistic outlook that shapes our future.
Traditionally, we all have been looking at areas in silos, for example, mobility or energy. So what is important is actually to bring all of these together and look at it collectively and then see that, okay, what can be done?
We're so fortunate to live in a region that has an abundance of natural treasures that attract people from all over the world to come live and work in our community. Every region knows that you need good jobs in order to thrive. What makes our approach different is that we're also focused on the thing that makes our region unique, which is our natural treasures.
This region is poised to experience tremendous growth. We expect that in the next 50 years, the population is going to double. With that comes added pressure on our natural resources, on our transportation.
Thrive is the only organization thinking about our transportation infrastructure at the regional level, and that has to be solved at the regional level because of our three-state geography.
This region is Freight Alley. Freight impacts every aspect of our lives. It includes the trucks that you see on the road, the rail, and our river. Are we using the barge traffic as efficiently as we can? How we handle freight moving through this region, the decisions we make today impact our communities, the natural treasures. So how we collaborate at the state level and at the local level, to me that's the most important thing that Thrive is doing today, is convening those groups.
Our region is full of proud communities that are just a wealth of history and culture and creativity. So we work with them to identify their distinctive assets and leverage those to create their own community and economic vibrancy. With them, we have built an inclusive network across 16 counties and 3 state lines to address the complexities of regional growth.
This approach allowed people to become engaged and allowed them to voice their opinion and concerns, and they began to feel like they were taking ownership of a process.
What Thrive allowed us to do was take the time to sit down with parts of my community that I didn't realize I was disconnected from. I think what we were expecting to hear was people wanting more amenities, but really what we heard was a desire for people to feel connected. And then we got to turn what we heard into actual experiences and experiments.
These are the people that are living in these regions. They understand their need, they understand their challenges, they understand their priorities, so they can help us to see that, okay, what we are working on is even valuable or not. So now we're making sure that we can hear everybody's voice through the data that has been collected.
I've worked many years in the conservation field across the country, and I've never seen a program like this. Thrive to me is, from a community perspective, taking a holistic, human-centric approach to sustainable development.
We do not take a top-down approach. That never works. People need to be a part of the change, and they need to be a part of steering that change in the direction that they wish for it to go.
I know that real change and sustainable progress takes time, and it only moves at the pace of relationships. I thought I knew my community, but I didn't really know my community. And Thrive was kind of that missing piece that connected all those dots.
Without Thrive, what's going to happen in the future is anybody's guess. With Thrive, we have the opportunity to work together to make sure that we develop in the right way, that services the economy, that services transportation, but protects the things that make people want to live here, which are the natural treasures.
Thrive's simple proposition is that growth isn't either or. We can have large-scale economic growth and charming, distinctive communities. We can optimize freight corridors and protect beautiful places for public health and recreation. As people, we don't live our lives in silos, and at Thrive, we believe the future shouldn't be planned in them. There is strength in looking at these complex questions holistically and collaboratively across geographic boundaries. With Thrive, partners rely upon each other's strengths and the best, most relevant information available. The quality of life of this region is more promising with this collaborative and optimistic approach.
We're excited to see where that wave ends up. It's going to spread throughout our whole community, and it's going to make a difference. And we will be alive again and thriving.
Welcome to our 6th annual Thrive Celebration event. It is truly an honor to know that you have taken time out today to join us in this virtual setting. We sure do wish that we could continue to carry on the tradition that we started 6 years ago with a special event where we could bring each of you together, give you a platform to sit across the table from others that have like-minded work or are doing things in work areas that you've never really crossed paths with before. And particularly, most importantly, communities and state partners from other states that are a stone's throw away, but without Thrive and the platform of our convening table, you don't always have a chance to sit down with and talk. So this year, it's a little bit different. This year, we're coming to you virtually from this platform. We're coming to you from a place of safety and precaution as we all navigate, hopefully nearing the end. There's light at the end of the tunnel, I think, of a global pandemic that has certainly hit our region, our people, our families, our stakeholders in really challenging ways. I can say with complete certainty that this has been a challenging year. We are an organization that prides ourselves on bringing people together. We want you to come together. We are all about conversation, collaboration, and connection. What I can also equally and confidently say is this year and this occasion today gives us a lot of reasons to equally celebrate. When you look at the initiative work that has been accomplished over this past year, this event has always been designed to celebrate you, to celebrate the volunteers, the people that make this work possible, and most importantly, make it possible for the people of the entire tri-state region in whatever area of expertise you might have. Some of you are transportation planners. Some of you are philanthropic leaders, and others of you are conservationists, and many of you are interested residents that just want to roll up your sleeves and help solve some of our most challenging issues. I'm going to pause right here and tell you that the authenticity of this moment is real. This year was the first time that I can safely say I presented to a city council. It was in our new Thriving Communities team, Eastridge. And in the background, my dog started barking. What it did is it helped to bring some incredibly true moments to who we are as a people, as a region, and the resiliency that many of us can bring just by simply dealing with the dogs, the kids, the cats, the doorbells, the FedEx trucks, whatever it may be. We're dealing with it and we're making it. And as a matter of fact, that was one time when I could surely say for the very first time, I've never been interrupted before at a city council meeting by my dog barking. Just as I certainly wouldn't have been interrupted if we had been meeting in person for this event. So let's talk about why we're here. We are here to celebrate you. And we are here to talk about and reflect on the accomplishments that have happened over the last year. So I hope you take some time to just kind of settle back. We have a hashtag that is hashtag 16strong. And we encourage you to go to Twitter, go to your social media preference of choice. And as you hear some nuggets today, Go tweet them out. We want people to know what is happening across this region. We're excited that this is going to have a life beyond this moment. So we're going to be sharing this as well, and we encourage you to do the same. There is so much good work that's happened this year. I am so inspired by all of the volunteers that have stepped up to the plate, that have joined us on virtual platforms like this, that have gotten to know Zoom and Jamboards and every other digital way of connecting with you. And for those of you that we have met while we've been only up to here, it's been amazing. And we want to celebrate that today. And we're excited to be able to turn it over to a panel here shortly that's going to talk about how their specific work in our impact areas has made a difference and what are some of the things that they have been seeing coming out of this year. So with that, again, thank you for being here. And I hope you enjoy this program and have more grace on any more dog barkings or anything else that could interrupt our time together. And I will see you here shortly. Thank you again for joining us.
Progress happens at the speed of trust. As we close out 2020, our region has experienced significant hits, but against many odds, we have much to celebrate and remember this year. Although the list of achievements and the path to get there may have looked different than any of us envisioned, the Thrive team and its partners can be proud of what has been accomplished on behalf of the communities we work for, amidst a pandemic, natural disasters ravaging our region, shifting to work remotely, and an election year. At its core, Thrive Regional Partnership is about people. So when the pandemic hit in March, we pivoted our focus to COVID-19 support. Elected officials and community leaders needed guidance for how to serve their communities during this time. With help from our research partners, Thrive was able to efficiently gather information and resources, breaking communication barriers in crisis response. Whether identifying food resources and internet access points for families in need, or tracking active cases and hospitalizations, surrounding communities put their trust in this organization when it came to gathering information quickly and accurately. Through a vital partnership with UTC's IGT Lab, information was compiled into our GeoHub, creating a centralized source of information our neighbors could use to better serve their communities. So far, the COVID-19 response dashboard has received over 200,000 views, averaging 640 views per day. As 2020 goals had to adjust for current events, the entire team recognized that many of the goals originally set were actually more critical than they'd ever been. Earlier this year, the Regional Broadband Alliance was launched. This cross-sector network works to amplify broadband and the digital equity movement across the tri-state region. Internet access is a critically essential infrastructure, a basic need in the greater Chattanooga region. As the world socially distant, it became all the more clear that the internet is how we connect with our families, educate our children, seek medical attention, and successfully work remotely. Equity in our neighborhoods and in communities across the region was needed more than ever. Through this alliance, communities can build partnerships that advance robust, accessible, and affordable internet at home, school, and work. As online ordering soared while we stayed home, an effective logistics ecosystem hit home for everyone. While many cities are experiencing the downfall of failing to have a plan, countless stakeholders have worked on a framework to monitor and improve freight movement, which provides everyday services from grocery store deliveries to packages on your doorstep. We hosted our first virtual freight forum to continue our work convening transportation stakeholders and improving the movement of goods and people throughout the region. Through the Thriving Communities program and Tennessee Placemaking Partnership, communities are empowered to celebrate their local assets and grow from within. East Ridge, Tennessee, a rapidly growing center for recreation, dining, and major infrastructure, became the newest community to enter the Thriving Communities Placemaking program. This year, they've been redefining community engagement in an entirely virtual setting. What connects us all to this region, from our rivers, our mountains and valleys, is nature. It's made us a transportation hub, given us our identity as a natural treasure, and fostered livelihoods for centuries. This year, the Cradle of Southern Appalachia initiative was launched, a project that has been years in the making. It's a regional conservation blueprint for livability to ensure our home lasts for future generations. Our home in the tri-state region is one of the most biodiverse landscapes, with abundant flora, fauna, streams, creeks, and rivers. These landscapes support our public health and economies, yet only 15% of the region is protected today. The Cradle of Southern Appalachia initiative convenes stakeholders and puts a framework in place to make strategic, actionable steps toward protecting this land that we love. This year is not what any of us expected. We all had to shift our goals and the paths to achieve them. We rushed to the side of our neighbors when they needed our help, and with support from our partners, continued putting in the work to help the greater Chattanooga region grow responsibly. Through the struggles, we've seen neighbors coming together to keep one another safe. We've seen people develop a much-deserved appreciation for frontline workers. We've seen increased use in outdoor recreation from folks just now discovering this beautiful place we call home. Working together, Thrive Regional Partnership will keep blazing these trails into 2021 and beyond. Now, more than ever, we know that progress moves at the speed of trust. With your trust in us, we'll continue serving this region to ensure a thriving home for all.
Hello, and welcome to 16 Strong at Home Edition. Thank you so much for everyone who has worked to pull this event together, since we're not able to be together in person. Of course, we would love to be, but here we all are together virtually. I'm excited to have 4 incredible panelists join us to chat about the work that's been done in 2020 through our Thriving Communities program, our Natural Treasures Alliance, the Freight Mobility Coalition, and the Regional Broadband Alliance. A lot going on, so thank you all so much for joining me today. I would love to start with Deb Sosha. Deb, if you could introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you do in your daily life.
I'm Deb. I'm from the Enterprise Center. I'm the president and CEO there. And we have 3 significant areas of work. One of them is digital equity and the Tech Goes Home program. And we're also working on HCS Ed Connect. The second is the Chattanooga Smart Communities Collaborative. So we're working on smart cities interventions, and the Innovation District and the entrepreneurial ecosystem. So kind of a little bit of everything.
Great, thank you, Deb. And Stephen Bonico.
Hi, I'm Stephen Bonico. I am the Dade County Conservationist and Executive Director of Limestone Valley Resource Conservation and Development Council. We serve 11 counties of North Georgia, 5 of which are in the Thrive region, and work to better our communities through natural resource conservation and community engagement. And that takes a variety of forms, from rental programs for putting out grass seed to working with the USDA on a variety of other implementations. We were formed in the 1970s to be flexible and engage with our communities in ways that make it a more vibrant and healthy place to live.
Great, thank you, Stephen. And next, Melissa Woody.
Hi, I'm Melissa Woody, and I'm Vice President for Tourism Development at the Cleveland Bradley Chamber of Commerce. And I've been in that position for 21 years. And things are completely different from my day one here at the Chamber. But it's awesome to be able to roll with the flow. And I do a little bit of everything. We're a two-person department. And so rather than just doing, marketing, we also do product development. So I've done everything from weed a native garden to, work on Cherokee heritage and exhibits, and work with our museum center on exhibits. And there's just always something different. And that's why I have loved every day since for 21 years, festivals, events, all of that kind of stuff. And then we've worked with Thrive on several projects. So I'm sure we'll delve into that a little bit deeper.
Thank you, Melissa. And Melissa Ziegler.
Good morning. I'm Melissa Ziegler with CDM Smith. In my day-to-day life, I do a lot of different kinds of planning work. I've had the opportunity to work with Thrive on their regional freight mobility and economic competitiveness study that was done under the National Economic Partnership Program with FHWA. In addition to doing freight planning around the country, I'm involved in equitable development planning. I do a lot of funding and financial strategies for different communities and regional partnerships. And right now I have the opportunity to do a little work on a smart cities program in a non-Jordan. So that's been a unique experience that's pretty different from what I normally do. But I've really enjoyed working with the Thrive Partnership. It is such a unique organization. And I have to say, in all of the freight work I've done around the country with states or regions and metro areas, there are a lot of things about the Thrive Partnership that I find to be very unique and very compelling. The collaboration between their community and business partners that is ongoing, which is, I have to tell you, a very unique set of circumstances. The fact that the business community remains engaged and active and energized on this topic, and I'm sure on all the other topics that they're involved in, is hugely important to the future of the region.
Thank you, Melissa. And that's really a great jumping off point. Stephen, maybe we can go to you next and talk just a little bit about the Natural Treasures Alliance and what that work has looked like in 2020.
Yeah, so in working with Thrive, I guess I want to start out by saying, my interpretation of what Thrive has been doing is convening and pulling together our different voices and our different assets around the community, around the 16 county area, and in certain capacity areas like Natural Treasures Alliance. And so with Natural Treasures, in the conservation arm of things, we've been exploring what it is that's important to us and what it is that we'd like to see this place be in the future as we grow, as more people come here, as the importance of this area as a freight corridor continues to expand, and as all of these dynamic aspects of our economy evolve, what does it look like with our natural resources and with the things that were here before us, and how do we want to leave them when maybe we're passing them on to our children or our grandchildren? So we set out at the start of this year to create aspirational statements and kind of a visioning process that will guide and direct our group together. So the different organizations that have aligned under the leadership and convening of Thrive will look to these aspirational statements as a clear path forward in the grant making process, in the application process, in the community engagement process, or in just the public planning sphere, so that we are identifying what's important to us and looking for ways to both leverage it for the future, but also protect it for the future. So I would say that would be what the focus in our Natural Treasures Alliance group has been this year, is first identifying what's important. Second, identifying why we think it's important and how we're going to keep it and not love it to death. So I'd say that's kind of where we've gone so far.
Thank you, Stephen. Melissa, Woody, you mentioned a lot of programs that have been done in the Cleveland area that are related to thriving communities. What have you seen both previously, and what has 2020 been like for the program there?
Well, we started out our Thrive relationship with the Thriving Communities Initiative, which is more of an arts-focused initiative. And in my job, as you heard, I got my hand in a little bit of everything because all of those things help to attract visitors to our area. We try to concentrate on adventure, heritage, and charm. And so a lot of the things we're working on with Thrive end up being in that charm category, that small town Southern feel, where you also have this innovation movement and public art and, the appreciation for arts. And so we had put together a team, and we're one of 8 communities that participated in the Thriving Communities Initiative. And it was to develop a goal that you would see yourself in 5 years related to the arts. And so that distinctive play is what we called it in the process, was that we would our downtown would emerge as an arts and innovation district. And so, to be very honest, we were just trying to figure out something to put, for the 5-year goal. And it has ended up being what we've worked on most of 2020 and we've worked, kind of, I don't want to say behind the scenes because it has included people, but it feels like behind the scenes because we've been doing all these virtual meetings and things like that. So in a way, I guess it is, but there have been about 5 of us who have really been working on where the arts community is going in our town, and also where we want to see the efforts, like trying to collaborate the efforts of all these different groups, but in one direction and one goal. And so that the Thriving Communities Initiative, we would go to these workshops and be, in the room with the 7 other communities. And we had to do like a test site. And, for busy people, that's a lot. And we were going down, several times, but it ended up being a great experience. We were kind of, thinking, oh gosh, we don't have time to do all this. But when we did our test site, we got so much. We did just a very brief, we did art projects in the underused spaces of downtown. So it's in the back alleys, and it's called Back Alley Gallery. And you would open doors and there'd be this lovely piece of art. So we did a test site of that and had a door out there, and people would come out and we were telling them, what the project was going to be. I just was so astounded at the amount of support and the amount of engagement that our community members had when they came to this test site. We had a business that said, I want to do this too in the back of my business, and how can I be involved? And hey, what about my building? And I was just, wow. So that whole process, going through that process with Thrive and Lyndhurst was so invaluable to where we are now, because now we're working with Thrive and the Tennessee Arts Commission to apply for a grant to get a facilitator that will kind of wrangle all of these ideas into a common goal. And we just found out that we are going to be a recipient of that grant. So we're looking for facilitators and interviewing folks right now. So we're really excited. And Thrive has kind of sparked that whole, it's like it was here, but it wasn't organized, and it wasn't, the fire wasn't lit. And so I think that Thriving Communities Initiative lit the fire.
I love that idea of sparking and lighting a fire. And to touch on a couple of the common themes of convening and what difficulties some of us have experienced this year. Deb, the digital divide is something we've heard a lot about for several years, and this fight for digital equity. And the situation we found ourselves in recently with a lot of virtual meetings and finding ways to intentionally build on relationships, but in this virtual space has really highlighted that digital divide and trying to bridge the gap. The Regional Broadband Alliance launched this year. Our kickoff was in July. There was a lot of work sort of before that, but I wonder if you could touch maybe on the work that's being done in that digital space and why it's so important now.
It's definitely an interesting moment in time, right? I mean, the pandemic has just highlighted a problem that existed for years. Some people have access and some people don't. And part of that is, what is the cost of access? That can be a preventing factor, but also in some of our more rural areas, is there actually infrastructure, right? So this is an issue that gets touched by policy, by finances. It has a relationship to the environment. There is so much engaged in that problem. It's been interesting on some of the calls that even some of the people who tried to call in couldn't get a decent enough connection to participate in talking about how do we get better connections, right? So there's some irony in that. I love that this conversation is happening on a regional level, that it's happening beyond just this small area, because when I've worked across the country on this. In my last role, I ran a new nonprofit called Next Century Cities. And what we did is we worked with local elected officials to figure out how to get fast, affordable broadband to everyone in their community. And so the challenges of getting that done are significant. But when you work regionally, when you have a convener, when you have the power of multiple people working together to solve a problem, that's the only way I've seen this solved. So I'm really pleased to be part of it. And my colleague, Jeff Milner, who is chairing that group, has done a fabulous job.
Yes, we love Jeff. Thank you for letting us borrow him for time sometime. Much more knowledgeable in that space than I am. If I could go back, and maybe Melissa Ziegler, I can direct this question towards you, a more ethereal question of, why are we better when we work together?
I think listening to the other participants this morning really highlights for me one of the tremendous assets of the Thrive partnership. Most people think freight is trucks zooming up and down the interstate. It's not a very, it's important to business, but it really is not important to everybody else. But the thing I notice about the Thrive Mobility partnership, or committee, excuse me, is they're thinking about the issues of freight that they as business people experience, but they're also thinking about quality and sustainable communities. They're thinking about preserving unique places, about the broadband to support technology and innovation that may help us do a better job in more efficient and safe movement of goods and people in the future. And if you don't have that broadband connectivity, there's a lot of those elements of innovation that you don't get to capture. And I think the whole idea of thinking about national treasures and arts and culture and unique places really fits in also, although it doesn't seem like it maybe, with the whole issue of efficient and safe movement of goods and people. You know, it's very important in the tourism industry or the healthcare industry, or, you know, we all saw at the beginning of the pandemic how important it was that there were groceries on the shelf. And there were groceries on the shelf even in rural parts of America. That we had some shortages, but the fact that we could move commodities around, I think helped people feel less afraid about what was going on. And it was very unique to hear the discussion in the Thrive Freight Mobility Committee, talking about how important those kinds of things are, in addition to the importance of being able to facilitate the movement of freight on the interstate. So I think the fact that Thrive not only looks at this at a broad range of issues in a collaborative partnership sort of fashion, they also encourage the people who are engaged in looking at freight, for example, to look at the environment and to think about the unique places within the region that you don't want to, every place doesn't need to be or want to be Atlanta. There's so many wonderful places to go to and to live in and to work in within the Thrive region. And I think it's just, in so many cases, regions or states have groups that meet during a plan process and then they're done. And that doesn't happen here. What we've seen is that there's an ongoing dialogue about issues of importance. And that's how things really can get done in a way that integrate all the things that you guys have been talking about, because they're all important. You know, just running a truck up and down the highway is, is not the end all and be all. It is everything that you guys talked about previously. And the truck is a means to an end, and the rail and all the rest of it. And I think having the perspective that Thrive has in integrating all of these different issues together is so refreshing and frankly, pretty unique.
Yeah, if I could build on that.
Take this show on the road.
Sorry. If I could build on that a little bit, I think the thing that I see that impresses me so much is the way that you build trust with folks that work with you, because success doesn't happen without that trust, that it doesn't feel like anybody cares who gets the credit. There doesn't have to be credit. It's amazing. I forget who said this, but it's amazing what you can accomplish when you don't care who gets the credit. That's the kind of experience I see here. My predecessor, Ken Hayes, always says, working together works, which is exactly what this feels like. And what I think is so important is that while there may be borders, you don't see them as boundaries, right? It doesn't prevent you from working with a broader group of people across 3 states. And I mean, I think there's something so wonderful about that. And it's not something I've seen in other communities near a state border.
Deb, I'll build off of that and just say, I think that trust building is exceptional. And what Thrive really brings to the table is that main flagship that says, hey, we're here as a known entity that you can trust because we're convening trusted partners. And it's a trust building process with our greater region and community that is to build off of Melissa. It is multidisciplinary. It's looking at the overall picture and saying transportation is important to our daily lives. So is a quality of life and a place to be, and to build off of the broadband, the ability to connect in hard times with loved ones. What I appreciate about Thrive is it's not singular in its focus. It is taking a multidisciplinary approach and then looking at how they overlap and sometimes how they juxtapose and trying to reconcile those to the community and build a vision for the future that makes us all better together.
And I think in addition to that trust, there's this credibility. Melissa had mentioned that you don't just convene for a project and then everybody just goes their separate ways. It's a continuing project. It's a continuing effort. And, that's what we're seeing with our project. That was probably 3-4 years ago that we convened with Thriving Communities. And then now here we are, still working on it, still talking about it, still getting progress in the books. And this grant that we're doing now is a partnership between Thrive Regional Partnership, Tennessee Arts Commission, Southeast Tennessee Development District, and Lyndhurst Foundation. So those are all people that we work with, but they're all being convened in this, continuing credible effort that is helping not only, one community, but all of these communities that are all, based here in the Thrive region.
And it is hard work to do all of that. And it's sacrifice. I know the folks that have been in the transportation sector, their time is very valuable, but they donate it to the cause and they sacrifice. It's hard work, it's sacrifice, but wow, it's rewarding when we get to see what it looks like convened under that body that is Thrive, and not just take credit, like you said, Deb.
Yeah, you take on some pretty chunky problems.
Well, I would just say, in keeping with our time, I know, speaking of time, y'all's time is valuable, but I would say that you're exactly right. We like to say together we're 16 strong, and this event is a celebration of that. And also, we could not do it without the time dedicated by hundreds of volunteers. I mean, hundreds and hundreds of hours. We could not do what we do without all of you. So thank you so much for spending some time with me this morning and having a conversation. I really appreciate it.
Thank you to our incredible speakers today. We are so grateful for you all and for the things that you had to say as we have all plowed through such a crazy year. I'd also like to thank Lift Media Group. Thank you so much for your sponsorship of today's event. In that same note, I'd like to also thank our sustaining investors that have been listed on the slides today. We are so grateful for your commitment to Thrive, for your belief in us, for your financial belief in us. We can't do this work without donors and those of you that give of grant dollars and that treasure to sustain this work. We thank you for that. Without you, we literally would not be here doing this work. I'd also like to thank our Board of Trustees. At the helm is Connie Vaughn. I thank you for your leadership as the chair of our board and for helping to steer and guide and lead all of us down this journey and through an incredibly crazy year. We thank you for that leadership. And for those of you on the board that have been able to commit of your time, join us on these Zoom meetings this year, probably a little bit into next year, we thank you. Without you, we would not be where we are either. And then to our initiative groups, y'all, at this point, by now, I would be asking people to stand. And I hate that I can't do that right now. But I want to thank all of our initiative group members, our alliance, our coalition members, those of you who have given so much of your time and your talents to this work. We truly thank you. Collaboratively, as a region, we can have those conversations that can take us forward. And we hope that you will continue giving of your time in 2021. With that, again, thank you for joining us this evening. I do have a great, just a last call to action, which again is to text 16 strong to the number 44321. And again, it's 16 strong, all one word, to 44321. Anything that you might be able to contribute will help us further our cause. We appreciate you, and we look forward to hopefully convening again together with you in the future. Next year, December, it'll always be either the first Tuesday or the first Thursday of the month of December. And we will have that date coming forth soon. But thank you so much. And we appreciate it. And thank you again to everyone who helped to make today possible. And have a happy holiday and a most prosperous new year. Thank you.
Is that, oh, sorry. That mute button.
A terrible mute button.
We can see that as we've worked to get over roadblocks, to understand and listen. I should be listening to my dog right now because apparently he needs to go out. Great example, terrible example. Authentic example, yes.
Just would like to open the floor if you would like to have any sort of closing words.
I think she literally hung up as soon as you said that, Shannon. So.
You're still muted. Dr. Helms, if you can hear me, you're still muted.
Oh, I thought you were going to unmute me. Very good.
I'm sorry, I tried.
Well, hey, call me Marilyn unless I need to give you a grade, and you get
got it.
A+ for today. But
I don't know if Daniel's on, if Daniel is driving right now or not, but I'm going to just assume that he is in his car because I know he was there. So anyway, I'll just take over from here.
So just a couple of updates. Of course, now my slide deck is not working there.
We also know that our state government on the Tennessee side, the Tennessee Arts Commission took a strong and hard
Drew, did we have, I think we didn't have travel included in this, right? Not sure if he's there, but anyways.
And so that's what these points that you see are representing. So we had Jackson Mountains, sorry.
I'm trying to, now it changed. Well, it changed screens now. I was looking for the leave button.
So what we have is producer can plug in, say they own timberland somewhere on Georgia Avenue, downtown. They can type in an address.
This is really good stuff. So I think, Shannon, are you going to sort of handle our regional roundtable discussion?
Sure.
Sorry. Listen, I've gotten everybody wrong. I don't even know. I give up. Anyway, somebody.
Yeah, we can tag team it.
Just that I literally learned 20 seconds ago that there's a Dolly Parton Christmas album coming out, and I could not be more excited. That is today. Just I thought this meeting was going to be the highlight, and now I've got something else.
There you go.